Hi everybody, it's Mark again, and in this video, I've had my 8-day Albert, uh, I don't remember the last name, 8-day Oompa bell ringer clock disassembled for over a year now because I was comparing my clock to my friend's clock, trying to get his clock working. So I decided that it's been sitting on my pool table for over a year, disassembled, so I decided that it was time to put it back together. In this video, I'm going to show you the ins and outs of my clock. My Oompa players move like they're supposed to. I still, to this moment, don't know why my friends' Oompa players didn't move. I did the exact same thing to my clock as I did to his clock, and I even took out the round peg that I put on the shaft of his clock, trying to get his clock to work better. Somebody suggested that the wheel that shaft rides on, which is a star wheel, somebody suggested that maybe the star wheel was worn out on his clock. I don't believe it is. He sold his clock. I don't believe it is. I would have to look at my videos of me repairing and working on his clock, but I believe mine is the same as his clock. And so, anyway, kick back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, grab a beer, grab a cigarette, whatever you feel like doing, and I hope you all enjoy this video. Please leave me some comments. Please give me a thumbs up. I will show you that the clock is working, but I don't have the hands and all the hooks and stuff like that on the chains, because I let my clocks run for at least a day before I put those hooks on the chains. On an 8-day clock, it's going to run for at least a week before I put those hooks on those chains, because if something goes wrong, I don't want to have to be taking those hooks and rings off the chains. So anyway, let's get to it. Hey everybody, it's Mark again, and I figured it's time for me to put my Albert Schwab Karlsruhe 8-day bell ringer Oompa player clock back together. If you remember, I took mine apart to help repair my friends. The dancing platform has got this plastic wheel here that matches up with the end of this plastic wheel that has these teeth on it. That's on the end of the music box to make the dancers move. You see how small those teeth are? It's not a very good setup. This is plastic. And then you have that rubber wheel down there to make the water wheel move. And with my clock, it was originally an O-ring setup. This is the wheel that I took off of his clock, which is for a chain setup to make the water wheel move. But this clock here originally had an O-ring set up on it, but I took my clock apart, took parts off of my clock to put on his clock to get his clock on, because he buys and sells clocks for a living or for extra income, and I buy clocks just to have them. They're my children's inheritance. This wheel has to be at a certain position on the music box. And what holds it in place is this brass bitting. Except for my plastic piece is broken. You should be able to see that. It's broken. So I'm going to see if I can cut that off and put another plastic tube over it to hold it in place. There's you should be able to see this S-shaped fitting. There's 2 holes on each side of that S. That's what this goes on. Okay, and that's what makes it ratchet. And there's 2 little pins they're really small. There's 2 little pins that fit into holes, that fit into those holes on the S to prevent this thing from coming off. But that S is flexible, and that is what catches on these teeth to make it a ratchet assembly. That way when you pull the chain, it winds up. So I have to find the exact spot where those holes are after I fix this tubing. And that is going to be an issue of how to fix that tubing. This, when the clock is going, this clock is beautiful. It's got the bell ringer, it's got the players, it's got the dancers, it's got everything going for it. But if you remember, in his clock, I couldn't get the dancers to move that well. Just Mike, and I'm going to leave his description in this, his YouTube channel at the end of this video. He pointed out to me that the star wheel was probably worn out. And making the star wheel this is the part that goes into that wheel. So if the star wheel is worn out, then he's saying that this won't move that much no matter how much of a tubing that I put on it. And he's probably correct. But you can't find this exact part that has these teeth on it to make the dancing platform move. At least I haven't been able to find it. And it's a pretty poor setup that this company did. Albert Schwab Karlsruhe, they're no longer in business, and but like I said, when it works, it's a great clock. But when it doesn't work, it's a pain in the butt to try to figure out, because there's a lot of faulty parts in it. Too much plastic. I couldn't find that plastic sleeve that would take that broken plastic sleeve place, so I put it back on, and so far it's working. But I want to show you the chain drive is working. You should be able to see that. It was fun putting that chain just right to get it to work. We'll do it again. This time I'll show you the water wheel. I really need a bigger desk. As you can see, the water wheel is turning. Whether it's turning the right way or not, I have no idea. I'm pretty sure it is, because water comes in, lifts up the water. So anyway, it's turning. Now to put the rest of the parts on. And to clean out the inside of this case. It's been sitting in my house for over a year. It's been over a year since I worked on this thing. So if I find all the parts, I will be happy. On a side note, when you're making these clock stands, these cuckoo stands, you want to make sure that you can accommodate big cuckoo clocks. I thought when I made this stand, this portable stand that I have on my desk, that it will accommodate a big cuckoo clock. Well, it does, but not this big of a cuckoo clock. So I will have to extend the top section 6 inches in order to accommodate these big cuckoo clocks. So I'm back with this stand that I made. This is the first stand that I made for repairing cuckoo clocks. With 1,500 gram weights, that's what the clock calls for. The music is playing just fine. The dancing platform, just like my friend's clock, it kind of goes and then it makes a quick spin. And I think it's all because it's all plastic. And so, anyway, we're getting there. One step at a time with this cuckoo clock is what I'm trying to get at. I got the chain on for the water wheel. I got the music box, and it works. Now it's time to put the movement in and see if it works. And just for comparison, this is the 8-day Oompa Loompa bell ringer clock. This is a 1-day Fox and Grapes that has a regular 701 movement in it. The 701 movement looks exactly like the regular 72 movement, except for the regular 701 movement is a 1-day clock, where the regular 72 movement is an 8-day clock. I would thought that the regular 701 would look like the regular 71, but it doesn't. And from the little, if you Google search regular 701 movement, you're going to find 2 threads. One thread is my YouTube video. Another thread is a posting that was made back in 2015. This guy has got a cuckoo clock that has a regular 701 movement in it. And he was wanting to know how to oil it and service it. He says he bought the clock 40 years prior. So 40 years minus 2015 is going to be in the late 70s, I'm guessing here. Anyway, I'm not for sure which movement took precedence. I don't know whether the regular 72 has a regular 702 movement to it, which would be an 8-day movement. I don't know whether the regular 701 takes place of the regular 71, or whether the regular 71 takes over the regular 701. But the regular 701, which is in this clock, looks exactly like the regular 72 with this contraption on the back plate. It has an external governor fan for the music box. But anyway, it's a huge clock. It's 15 and a half inches wide and 13 and a half inches. I take that back. I was measuring it wrong. Stand by. It's about 27 inches tall. Me and my friend Ron were discussing clocks earlier, and I was measuring it without the topper on. It's 27 inches tall and 15 and a half inches wide. Anyway, it's a big clock for a 1-day clock. 1-day clock, 8-day clock. 1-day clock, 8-day clock. Now, on a side note of this 8-day Oompa clock, let's talk about this lever right here. This lever right here is attached to this wire that comes out the bottom of the clock. And this is how you silence the music and cuckoo, is by pushing up on this lever. When you push up on this lever, what it's doing, this rod right here is part of the lift lock lever. The lift lock lever is what activates the rack stop lever, and it's activated from the minute wheel with minute arbor center wheel that has those tabs on the half hour, on the hour. So whenever you turn the hands around, the lift lock lever will lift up to activate all that stuff. Okay? But when you push up on this lever, it is pushing onto the lift lock lever, and so now the rack cannot, it was in the process of cuckooing, the rack cannot drop. As you can see with me turning the minute wheel around, the rack, which is this part right here, cannot drop. And that is the modern day nighttime shutoff lever. When I say modern day nighttime shutoff lever, I'm fixing to upset a few people, but I'm going to explain why I'm right. A lot of cuckoo clocks have got this wire above the door. Some people, a lot of people call that a shipping wire, and it's only used for shipping to prevent the clock from cuckooing. Well, how the heck is it gonna cuckoo if the weights are not on it? That's my first stance to this shipping lever only type thing. The older clocks, like I said, used to have that wire, and that wire would stop the cuckoo from cuckooing at night if that's what you choose to do so, and we're going to talk about that. And by the way, this wire can easily pull out and get lost, and that's why I feel that they went to this different system, is because people were complaining that they no longer had a cuckoo nighttime shutoff lever. But if you are like me, and when my clocks were going, this is my bedroom. You get used to your clocks. You ignore them. Your body doesn't recognize that they're going off. The only time I would stop my clocks was when I was sick, and then I didn't want to hear any noise whatsoever other than what I used to go to sleep with. Getting back to this 8-day movement with this modern day nighttime shutoff lever on it. As you can see, the rack isn't dropping. Okay, now we're going to turn it back on so it cuckoos. And now the rack drops. Okay. If I was to prevent this rod from opening, this is a cuckoo perch rod, and if I was to prevent it from opening, that is the same thing as a nighttime shutoff lever. Okay, I have this wire wrapped around so this bird post cannot open. Okay, and so as the clock does its thing, it will not cuckoo because this bird post is not opening. It's the older nighttime shutoff lever. Once you open up the door, the first time it cuckoos, it could cuckoo off. But the next time it cuckoos, it will be caught up with itself. A lot of people say If you worked on enough clocks like I have, you will not be using that as a nighttime shutoff lever. I know people that use that every day, every night, I'm sorry, and they have never had an issue with their clock. If you set the rack and snail up properly, and as long as there's no other issues with your clock, there's nothing wrong with using that door wire as a nighttime shutoff lever. There are sometimes I wish I had somebody in my house to help me video. Hopefully you're going to see what I'm fixing to do. These are all one day, except for this clock, sorry. One day cuckoo clocks. When I have my clocks going, with a one day modern one day cuckoo clock, you have to wind it twice a day. They only last for about 22 hours. Different subject. But whenever I had my clocks going, and I would leave for the day and come back and my clocks had stopped, I'd wind up my clocks, and then to set my clocks, I closed the door with my finger, and then I would, with one finger, and then with the other hand, I would set the clocks. We're going to make this thing go off at 9 o'clock. Okay, that was 9 o'clock. Now we're going to pretend like it's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to close this door. Actually, this clock here has got a wire on it. So I could turn the hands. It's not able to cuckoo because that wire is preventing that bird from coming out. I believe that's 6 o'clock, and this is 7 o'clock. Now I'm going to let the door go. It cuckooed 11, 12 times, something like that. The very next time it cuckoos, it will be correct. That was 7:30. That was 8 o'clock. Again, you could use that wire as a nighttime shutoff lever, and as long as there's nothing wrong with your clock, as long as when it was serviced, when it was put back together, as long as it was put in time and there wasn't nothing wrong with the clock, it's not going to hurt it to close the door at night, if that's what you choose to do so. Here I have a 3D cuckoo clock. There's no door on it. But if I hold my finger in the hole and prevent the cuckoo from coming out, no cuckoo. Next time it cuckoos, it will be correct. That was 7 o'clock. It's 7:54. Again, that's how I set my clocks when I'm gone for the day. And if you choose to do so, to use the wire above the door for the nighttime shut off, you can. This clock has got the wire. 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 That clock's got the wire. That's as far as I'm walking. This site right here used to, and I'm sure it still does, talk about the same thing that I just talked to you about. We're going to go to clock repair. It might be under service, I'm not for sure. Let me search cuckoo clock. Let me find it. Stand by. Again, Clockworks. Today's November 17th, 2023. Cuckoo clock not striking. New cuckoo clock movement not striking. When the new cuckoo clock movement will not go into striking mode for the hours, the bird will not come out and the clock will not indicate what time it is with the cuckoo call. Here are the guidelines on what to check in this situation. Latch the cuckoo door. There is a wire above the cuckoo door. This closes and locks it into place. This is either shipping the clock and also, did you hear me? Also for chime shutoff. Nighttime shutoff. This is what they used to use, and my personal feelings behind it, people lost the wire, they couldn't understand it, so they created this new system, and it will not affect, as long as your clock is in serviceable order, it will not affect you using that wire above the door for a nighttime shutoff lever. This is one of the reasons that I left a lot of groups, because of this discussion right here. People told me that I didn't know what I was talking about. I spent hours defending myself. This is just one place that says it's for use for a nighttime shutoff lever. Time to get back to working on this clock. When you're putting a movement back into a case, you want to make sure that you can see that square section right there. That square section is what this minute nut fits on. But the reason why you want to see that is because if this slides forward, this is the snail. If it slides forward, the rack could fall behind the snail. And so you want to make sure that you see that square section, and then add this, which is for the minute hand, and then add the nut. Even if you don't put the hands on, add those two items. That way, the snail will not slide forward while you're working on the clock. If the snail falls forward, like I said, you just got through timing the clock. You just got through putting everything in place. But if the snail falls forward, I'm grabbing a movement, sorry. I'm going to I need to grab a movement that's got all the parts on it that I need to show you. These are just parts movements. Well, they weren't originally parts movements. They were movements that I took out of clocks over the past 3 years so I could talk to people. And they weren't originally parts movements. And so I'm sure I got some clocks around here that needs these movements. But hopefully I'll get to that before I die. Okay, if the snail, which is this, falls forward, the minute wheel with minute pinion should have the washer and the E-clip. However, a lot of times it still has space between those two items. So if it was to fall forward, it could go down like that. And you see that? It's not the gathering pin with gathering pallet. Well, this one ain't going to do it because it don't have the pin in it. But if they fall forward, the gathering pin with gathering pallet typically doesn't raise them back up. So you have to push it up in order for it to go up. So that's why I say when you put a movement into a case, hold it so you can see that square. And as soon as you got it through the case, put that wheel with the square assembly on it and the nut. And that way you could continue working on the clock. You can continue moving it around, and it's not all your hard work that you just got through doing, it's not going to be wasted. I worked on my friend's clock for several hours. And I believe the star wheel that's on the end of this wheel here was the same as this one. I ended up taking the piece of wood off that I had on this shaft. Everything is always getting in my way. But I'm going to activate the music, and you will see that on my clock, the Oompa players move quite a bit compared to his clock. And as you can see, I've got my clock connected the same way as his clock was connected. Exact same way. The pendulum leader wire is bent. and you don't want your pendulum leader wire to be bent. It'll mess you up when you go to put the clock in beat. So straighten it out. And you can easily straighten it out by putting one end in the drill. I choose this end. And then putting it down on a block, a wooden block, a metal block, whatever. Start at the end closest to your drill, turning the drill on slightly, and hammer it. And this is what you end up with. It's can you see the gap in between the wire and the block? Barely. And if I was to hit it right here, that took care of that gap. So anyway, you don't want a bent pendulum leader wire. It'll mess you up when you put the clock in beat. Always take them off. When I am disassembling a clock, in this case, the back door is extremely big. But most cases, the back door is small, and you have to raise the movement up and pull this out of the slot. And when you do, you got a good chance of bending this. I take them off before I take the movement out of the clock. Just get in that habit. All you have to do is take a screwdriver, open up that end. It'll come off the CU hook that it is attached to. And then when you put it back in, you put this in between the foot, connect that to the C hook, and you squeeze that tight again. You notice how the pendulum leader wire stays on the left side of the foot, and I always tell you to watch your pendulum leader wire, see where it is in relationship to what I call the foot off the crutch assembly. I was bending this to the left because it's touching the left side of the foot, and it wasn't fixing anything. And the reason why is because this U-shaped wire was squeezed too tight out. So I brought it in some, and I'm going to adjust it now. You see how it's bouncing off the foot now? It still needs some adjustments, but I just wanted to show you that the clock is up and running. I still have to put the hands on. That was a half hour. This is stopping the governor fan from playing on the hour. And now the music. And I'm going to turn this around so you can see the Oompa players, how much they move. Again, I am puzzled because I worked on my friend's clock for hours and hours and days trying to figure it out. I compared his movement next to my movement. I compared his parts next to my parts. And everything looked the same. Like I said, I still have some adjustments to do, but such as I still have to tilt this bird because it's touching the wood, preventing the door from closing. The bird cannot touch the wood, so you have to tilt it up or down depending on how big the bird is. In this case, it's a wooden bird, and they're kind of big. Now watch the input players. Why I couldn't get his to do that, I still have no idea. Anyway, I hope y'all like this video. I might do another quick video. I got this piece right here around my house somewhere. I gotta find it. But it's been over a year since this clock has been in any way, shape, or form working like that. It's been sitting on my pool table for over a year. And so I decided, I still want to get into that triple plate movement clock, finish that up. But I got so much to do around this house, and the days of me feeling good, I don't ever get old. That's all I got to say. I still got a lot of clocks to work on, and but anyway, this is almost one down. My friend sold his for around, I don't remember now, $400 to include shipping. One in Little Rock, earlier this year, was selling for $600. They couldn't sell it. They dropped the price to $550. They couldn't sell it. They dropped the price to $500, and it's no longer listed on Marketplace. These things originally cost, when I first got this clock 2 years ago, I think, there was a Black Force company that was still selling them, and they had them on sale for $1,500. They were normally like $2,500, $3,000. And so it's a $500 clock, either way you look at it.